The new parts have arrived from the factory without issue. They'll be fitted to the car in time for the next session.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 68 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous one then, at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, then be sure to check that one out before you see this one. But headed into this race then, we have the minor tyre wear upgrade and then the major engine power upgrade. So looking forward to this one. Of course, Spain really isn't a power circuit though, so it might not mean a whole ton, and other teams have upgraded, specifically Red Bull and also Renault have upgraded. It looks like minor upgrades, I would say, probably, or maybe a major on the Renault and the Red Bull, but Red Bull still, you can see, quite a bit ahead of McLaren and myself at Ferrari there. We're just ahead of McLaren with these two upgrades then, so technically the second fastest car on the grid, but of course Red Bull, although they've got that huge gap, they've not been reliable this season so far. Ricciardo, 2 outs in 4 races, so it doesn't really mean too much, and the Renault's looking stronger and stronger as they go on, and of course Nico Hülkenberg won the last Grand Prix. So going into this one, going to be interesting to see how they go, but we're going to head straight into qualifying then into Q1 and just see how things flow. Usually the Spanish Grand Prix is a good one for me. I enjoy this circuit. It's usually one that comes naturally to me in terms of the flow and rhythm of it, but I can't lie. Again, kind of like Azerbaijan in a way, the car did feel a little bit weird in the corners here and there. I don't know, it's kind of strange. The first 3 circuits of the season felt perfectly fine. You know, the car was sticking to the road, felt really grippy in the corners, and in the last 2 episodes now, almost feels like the downforce has gone away a tad. It's almost, I don't know, maybe the engine upgrades have made the car fast enough now in a straight line where now the car is unable to handle the power in a way through the corners. I don't know if that's really a thing, but it's kind of a coincidence as soon as the upgrades start coming in that we're having these issues. I actually just forgot I referred to the engine upgrade as a major upgrade. It's actually an ultimate upgrade, remember, so an ultimate engine upgrade to this Grand Prix. So hopefully that will make a bit of a difference, even though this isn't really an engine-driven circuit, and kind of, you know, well exampled of that is Force India are out in Q1, and Force India, although they're the 3rd worst team on the grid right now, they've been going very well so far this season. They've been in the top 10 many times. They've been still great in a straight line, but here at Spain, it's more about the chassis and the downforce in the corners, and so they're out of Q1 for the first time in a long while in the career mode. So kind of, you know, as the pattern finally goes down, I think this track definitely is the kind of on the level where the cars are actually at, really. You know, other circuits, you know, you can mask the performance with, you know, engine performance here and there and the lightweightness of the chassis, but this circuit, there's nowhere to hide. If your car is poor, it is going to be poor around here, and clearly at the moment we're doing pretty okay. You can see P5 and P4 there for myself and Raikkonen, but Renault Hülkenberg doing well to get ahead of us. 2 Red Bulls though looking mighty, and so for the first time this season, it looks like Red Bull are finally flexing the muscles of that apparent advantage they have on the performance chart there. Alonso makes it through, Van Dorn not, and so we'll see if McLaren can feature again. Obviously it's been a bit of an up and down season for McLaren so far. You know, I thought Alonso might have been back again to have his alien pace from the Bahrain Grand Prix, but then 2 Grand Prix where he's not really been there, to be honest. So now we're going to see how it goes in a top 10 shootout, and if we can try and do well to get towards the front end of the grid. We're not going to do it like that though, and we have had a major mistake on our first run in Q1 there. So that's a really costly mistake, because that pretty much puts our entire first run in jeopardy there. You know, over the grass and the gravel ruins those set of tyres, so I have to go for a fresh set. Thankfully I got through into Q2 and 3 respectively on 1 set of tyres, so I did have a second fresh set to burn in Q3, so that mistake can be kind of pushed away. Just need to mentally get that mistake out, and we do navigate that part of the circuit on the second flying lap a little bit better. Just got on the power way too eagerly in, I think it was 4th or 5th gear, and the car just snapped away from me. Couldn't do much about it, but thankfully it wasn't costly enough where I slammed to that wall and I didn't go out of the session. That would have been a bit of a nightmare if we had to start P10 then, despite getting into Q3. But we put that mistake behind us now. It's been a pretty decent lap so far, feeling good about it, so I think this could be one that sends us towards the front if the kind of lap times are the same already, but obviously people are all also on their second flying lap as well, so there might be improvements right now. But as we come through then, the last sector, what I'm sure is going to be a very traffic heavy sector in the race. A little bit of understeer on that right-hander, so went a little bit deep there, and a little tiny lock-up in the chicane, but not too much to make much of a difference. So through the last corner, then swing through, open DRS on the line, and across the line, it will be P4 as we cross, but then as we go to the end of the session, obviously people set fast lap times and we go down to P6, Raikkonen P7, and so I'm left a little bit bemused really, because it really has been a very confusing season so far. Like I said, I think it's going to be a very exciting season all around long, because it seems like there's so many fluctuations in performance depending on the track. You know, China, the car looked untouchable for me and Kimi in qualifying and also at the start of the race. Here we're back down to P6, P7, kind of where we were at at Australia, you've got the two Red Bulls now looking finally god tier-like there with some good dominance in a front row lockout. Hulkenberg does well. The Toro Rosso's got up into P4. I don't know how on earth Pierre Gasly has dragged that Toro Rosso up into P4, but he's done great. Van Dorn's out-qualified Alonso as well. It's all gone, you know, pear-shaped, really. That's not... I mean, I can't even remember the last time Van Dorn's AI has out-qualified Alonso. That's how you know how crazy that qualifying was in terms of fluctuations there. So, just have to try and do the best job we can, but now I really don't know what to expect in this race, so that's going to be a bit exciting, but a little bit nerve-wracking as well, but let's go.
Good afternoon from a very familiar setting. It's race day here in Spain, and with everything still to play for in the championship battle, there's no room for mistakes in a Grand Prix that's well known for creating them. The 2.89 miles of the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya will push the cars to their limits through the 7 lefts and 9 rights that make up a total of 16 corners. Watch out for overtakes down the main straight and into the first turn. This is where the drivers will get best use out of their DRS this weekend. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about the engineer. That was a great podium in the last race, so can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs, so it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hulkenberg, Gasly, Stoffel, Van Dorn, the engineer, Raikkonen, Alonso, Sainz and Kevin Magnussen, Hamilton, Hartley, Charles Leclerc and Grosjean, Ericsson, Bottas, Esteban Ocon and Sergio Perez. Stroll and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, here we go on the grid for what will be maybe a tough old Spanish Grand Prix in P6. Raikkonen, my teammate, in P7. It's going to be a two-stop there, but instead of using the medium tyres, once again, I think if we can try and stretch the super softs and the soft tyre a little bit, respectively, by 1 or 2 laps, we can go to another set of soft tyres and go softer than the race, and that will mean we're a bit faster right at the end and try and catch some cars if we need to do that at that stage of the Grand Prix. So that's the plan today. Let's go to 5 red lights to the Spanish Grand Prix, and we're underway, wasting no time. All the lights went straight out, and we've got a pretty poor start though in 3rd gear. Once again, my teammate is doing a better job at the very get-go, and look at that, Hulkenberg down the inside for the race lead of the 2 Red Bull cars as Raikkonen makes some contact with me. We've been shoved off the circuit for like the 2nd time now this season. Raikkonen has shoved me off the road there. He did it, I think, I can't remember, was it China? Yeah, China. When we went side by side for the race lead, he shoved me off at turn 2 at Shanghai. And again, it's happened here in turn 1 there, fully on the grass. And behind Fernando Alonso now to checkerboard of Van Dorn, Raikkonen, Alonso and myself. Hulkenberg looks to be in 2nd place then from 3rd, so the German's done really well on the works run to at least jump one of the Red Bull cars, but he tried it for the race lead down the inside of both of them, so fair play to Hulkenberg. But now we watch on the 2nd lap then Raikkonen get past Van Dorn, and now Van Dorn going a little bit slow through turns 3, so Alonso might have him, and hopefully we can try and get Alonso there. But at the moment, not feeling too great in the cockpit, feeling a little bit grumpy after Raikkonen shoved me off there, so I'm kind of got the bit between my teeth to try and catch back up to him and try and overtake him to show him who's boss. You know, I do have the first driver contract in this team, but anyway, first, before we get to that, we have to overtake Alonso. That's the first bit of business. So here we go now, around the outside. Alonso getting a lot of dirty air, I assume, from Van Dorn. We're side by side now. A great shot there, and once again, Alonso and me do battle, and he's on the outside. He kept it in. We have to lift off to give him the room, and he's got the advantage. And now the Toro Rosso of Hartley comes out of nowhere on soft tyres to not only go around the outside of me, he tried it on the outside of Fernando Alonso. So the Toro Rossos this race have really come to their own. They must have some very good aero. I think they maybe their upgrades, obviously, they've been one of the teams that have been upgrading consistently since the Bahrain Grand Prix, and so maybe they've done a lot of work on the aero here, because Hartley definitely wasn't too bad in that entire sector. And on the exit of here on traction, he gets away from me very quickly indeed, and so I just can't catch him in a straight line right now. And instead, I'm actually probably going to look behind at Carlos Sainz, who's catching me in the other Renault. So very odd situation right now. At the moment, I can't lie, the feeling is almost like what it was at the Australian Grand Prix, where I just had no answer for my driving, and I just didn't have much pace, and that's what it's kind of feeling like right now. Meanwhile, we've got Ricciardo trying to make a move around the outside of turn 3 on Hulkenberg, but we cut away momentarily back to our POV, because we're going to watch Hartley up ahead make a move on Alonso. He's around the outside of turn 1, and Brendan Hartley has just overtaken Alonso there, and that's a very weird phrase to say, considering how fast Alonso was last season, if you watched that one. And meanwhile, we cut back to this fight then, and Ricciardo hasn't done the move there. The Red Bull's still at it, and Hulkenberg still holding his own in P2. These two side by side now for pretty much the entire first sector, and if they're not careful, Pierre Gasly there in the Toro Rosso in P4 at the moment, I might add, doing a great job, the Frenchman in the Toro Rosso Honda. He might catch up as well, because look now, we're going towards the end of sector 2, and they're still neck and neck. Verstappen in the world of his own in P1, controlling the Grand Prix, but Hulkenberg and Ricciardo still doing battle. Very awkward camera angle, apologies for that, but I don't have much choice in what the game chooses. But Ricciardo is on the outside now for the right-hander, and look at that now, Gasly's right up their back end, and they're still side by side. We're going to the end of the lap, and there we go. Now Hulkenberg is ahead, fully ahead, but pretty much near enough, minus 3 corners. They were side by side for the entirety of that lap. That is mightily impressive, as now Ricciardo comes in, probably going to try and undercut, I would say, on Hulkenberg, who continues on in P2. Gasly inherits P3 now. Behind him is Raikkonen trying to catch up with DRS. You can see behind him is then going to be the likes of Hartley, Alonso, Van Dorn's coming for an early pit stop there. You can see myself, we are just ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and instead of catching Alonso, I'm actually looking behind me at Hamilton, because my tyres are starting to go off a little bit, especially the front left is taking some real punishment around the lap here, and it's going brick yellow on the tyre carcass, so that was a little bit annoying. And like I mentioned just before, I was really getting deja vu flashbacks to Australia, where I was just questioning how on earth am I this slow right now. I can't even match Raikkonen, let alone even match the Toro Rosso, the Mercedes behind me, who's pressurising me. So hopefully this new stint, new tyres, hopefully we can reset a little bit and, you know, use this fresh set to good use, because if we continue like that, like we were in stint 1, I'm just going to go backwards and backwards in this race, and that'll be horrific after what's been such a great few episodes for us. Even despite the chaos at Baku, we still came home with a great podium there, a photo finish I might add, so I want to kind of carry on that momentum, but at the moment that is just not happening. We're down in P16 as it stands, with a few people staying out for a long first stint, because I think a few people are trying one stops maybe, and ahead of us is Carlos Sainz. Remember, Sainz was behind us in that first stint, so he's done an undercut on us because he hit about 2 laps earlier, so fair play, but we're coming back at him rapidly, because now I think he's got some front wing damage with Alonso. I think he was battling him, and obviously the two home favourites, I think they're going very much toe-to-toe very aggressively, and so he's very slow in this next left-hander. We're going to get a really nice drive to the inside there, and you're about to see a pretty easy move into the chicane. He's got the straight line speed on me though, but we just have a little dive, and then if you look at the mini-map there on the exit, how much he drops back there. I look momentarily back behind me as well, and look at that on the mini-map. He's fallen away so much, so I think I can confirm, I think he's got some front wing damage there, but you know, that's how bad I was in that first stint. That I continued on obviously to carry on my strategy, but he was just able to get the undercut fair and square. As we now catch up to Van Dorn, we're in P14, P13 is on lap 8, we're catching up to Lance Stroll, I think that is in the Williams car, so there might be a bit of traffic as we enter sector 3, probably not the ideal place to try and make a pass, and you can see there we lose the back end a massive amount there and catch it, and thankfully I do not stuff it in the wall on the right hand side. So at the moment you can tell maybe a little bit I'm driving a little bit nervously, a little bit hastily, because I'm desperately trying to make something of this Grand Prix right now, as I feel like I'm in a bit of free fall. But at the same time, you've got to remember, from the past 3 seasons when we've done this strategy of doing super soft to 2 set of soft tyres, it's okay to lose a bit of time on the last bit of the stints, on the first 2 stints, because we're going to gain that time back in stint 3, theoretically, being on softs versus everyone else will probably be on medium tyres. So we need to be patient in that kind of sense. But at the same time, I definitely am driving with a little bit of a haste, because I want to try and get up the order and catch back up to that red dot on the minimap, which is Kimi Raikkonen. Now Van Dorn overtakes Stroll with a nice little move on the outside there. So now can we size up a move on the Williams car through turn 3, gaining the speed mid-corner there, the downforce, but a bit of a screen freeze there on my end. And now we're on the inside, though, into the end of sector 1. Big old dive, and we get it up into P13, but definitely not ideal, because I was right up behind Van Dorn. We have to wait up until lap 10 now, and there's another bit of traffic in the form of Esteban Ocon. So at the moment, I really am not having a great time with timing of traffic here, because Van Dorn's going to get the slipstream. He has DRS. He's got the engine speed, obviously, in the McLaren, having the best engine on the grid, and he's on the outside of Ocon now, and I can't do anything but watch them. Literally, there's no place to go. I'm going to try and suss out a move on the left here as Van Dorn goes wide. They make contact, and Ocon comes back at him, so it's a fantastic battle between the Frenchman and the Belgian man, but I literally can't do anything but sit back and, you know, watch this fight. And in the meantime, Hamilton is now right up my gearbox behind us, and so through the last corner, can I find the traction and the slipstream on Van Dorn as he gets squeezed out by Ocon quite a fair bit, to the point where I nearly smashed into the back of him there. But now we open up DRS and just pray we can make a pass here. Van Dorn to the left, I will go to the right of Ocon there to make it 3 wide into turn 1, but we go to the inside of 2 cars and we make a double pass there. Van Dorn overtakes Ocon in the process as well, and Ocon is left to try and fend off maybe Hamilton, as he had a bit of a sniff on Van Dorn's rear end through turn 2, but thankfully we did get that pass, and that was very crucial now, because now I can try and chase after the next man, Brendan Hartley in that Toro Rosso car, who's caught up behind Sergio Perez, and Sergio Perez actually looks to have some sort of issue, because he's going very slow on the exit of that apex there, so Hartley should have him for chips into the next chicane up the hill. So now can we make a easy enough move on Perez as well, as Hartley makes a nice move on the right hand side, and oh my god, Perez, literally, man, what are you doing? We just about get through there, but we make contact with Perez on the left front, and we almost get sent into the gravel trap there. So I'm thanking my lucky stars for another time that wasn't a crash. So we have definitely flirted with death a lot in this Grand Prix so far. But now as we cut onto a shot of the pecking order, you saw Leclerc was in the lead from Verstappen, then you got Hülkenberg, Ricciardo, Gasly, Ericsson, and then you've got Raikkonen, Hartley, and myself. So that's the pecking order there in the top flight. Obviously the Saubers are the odd ones out, but Gasly and Hartley are legitimately up there, so the Toro Rossos are performing very well indeed. And the Saubers, you know, they might be up here by the time they finish off their strategy, because I think they're on a bit of a conscious strategy, going very long on soft tyres. If we overtake Ericsson easily, Hartley already overtook him before he got up to Ericsson, and so you can see the pace in that Toro Rosso. But yeah, I think the Saubers are trying maybe a one-stop on soft to medium tyres, so if they pull that off, they could be in the top 10 as well, both Leclerc and Ericsson, but we're going to overtake Leclerc as he finally comes in for his pit stop there on the right-hand side of the mini-map, and so we're up into P7, and so now it is going to be actually Verstappen in the lead, Hülkenberg second, Ricciardo third, Gasly fourth, I believe, and then Raikkonen, Hartley, and then myself. And so eventually those guys will make their pit stop, but earlier than me, remember, because they're going to come in for medium tyres, whereas I'm going to continue on, stretch it, and go to softs. But it's a calamity for Nico Hülkenberg. Look at that. He's waited a literal 5, 6, 7 seconds almost. I don't know if he had a penalty that we didn't get instructed on. I don't know if it was a stop and go. It might have been, but it seemed like the mechanics just took their sweet time coming back to the garage. So much so that that's Ricciardo now. He's fully past Hülkenberg now into a net P2. Bottas's pass, Gasly's pass, and also Grosjean will be past Hülkenberg there. And so that is absolute blunder for Renault. Like I said, I don't know if it's a penalty. If it was, fair play. If it wasn't, that's all on Renault, and they've absolutely stuffed Hülkenberg's race then. And so he's going to be fuming in that cockpit there, because there's now 1-2 effectively for Red Bull once everyone makes their pit stops, as now we continue on. And obviously, like I said, stretch our first stint. We're in P2, Hartley's P1. Looks like Hartley's also stretching his soft tyre stint in this second phase of the Grand Prix, but unlike him, I will be coming onto softs. I think he still probably might go onto medium. So we're in then at the moment, as you can see, and we're going to strap on another set of yellow tyres on lap 19, so we did some really good work in that second stint. And like I said, we may have lost some time for sure in the first stint on super softs. We probably also lost some time on softs there right at the end on lap 17 to 19, as the tyres started to degrade quite a fair bit. But now is the time where we gain it all back, because those guys on mediums, the mediums aren't, it's a durable tyre, but it's not a great race tyre around Catalonia. So this is where we gain the time. We come up behind Hamilton. That's fine. No need to panic. We'll overtake Hamilton very easily now onto lap 21. Eventually, as the tyres heat up, we catch up to him, and we're up into P8 then. And now we'll chase after Brendan Hartley. There's a bit of a gap to Hartley, you can see in the mini-map there, but it's just about getting the head down and focusing on using that Ferrari pace that I know this car has. You know, I've been driving slower than the car really should be, because Raikkonen's been showing that. Raikkonen's been doing a great job up there in the top flight. He's actually pressurising Hülkenberg right now, as was how much Hülkenberg downfall. So now we just get the head down and try and catch Hartley. But it is a 1-2 still for Red Bull, Verstappen, Ricciardo. Third place is Charles Leclerc on medium tyres. So what did I say? The Saubers could be really good, because Gasly's P4. So Leclerc is legitimately up there in P3, trying to go to the end of the Grand Prix. In P5 then it's Hülkenberg. So he went from P2 to P5. So absolute calamity for him, and he's been pressurised by my teammate Kimi Raikkonen there. So Leclerc doing a wonderful job, and Renault not so much there, unless it was a penalty, then it's fair enough. Hartley then behind Raikkonen, a little bit of a gap to him, and then we've got a bigger gap to ourselves, and we're still trying to catch him, obviously, and eventually we will catch him, though. Got the bit between our teeth. It takes us 3 laps, but we do close down that gap, and we're firing all cylinders with ERS and DRS as well, and we're going to make that pass into turn 1. Hartley does give up a little bit of a fight in turns 1, but it's fine, and we're up into P7 now, and you can see on the mini-map, Raikkonen's dot is right up behind Hulkenberg, so those two fight, or even if Raikkonen just gets hit with dirty air enough by Hulkenberg. We saw how bad it was previously in the Grand Prix. I think we can catch Raikkonen here, and we can have a very good shot at overtaking our teammate, even after all the calamities we had at the very start of the Grand Prix. And in 2 laps time, on lap 26, we have DRS on Raikkonen, so we're within 1 second. It doesn't really look like it at the moment, because I think across the line he gained a little bit of time off Hulkenberg there, and so the gap looks quite a lot bigger than 1 second, but the DRS detection point obviously doesn't lie, and so we are gaining on Raikkonen. You can see also up ahead, it looks like Leclerc might be holding up Gasly a tad, but unfortunately, even though we were within 1 second of Raikkonen on lap 26, 5 laps later, lap 31, we're still not even close to him to maybe make a dive, just like in kind of real life Formula 1 where you're in 1 second, but the dirty air just won't allow you to even close up there, as now Leclerc navigates some traffic of the Williams, so I'm hoping maybe that Williams car, as it holds up Gasly, quite a treat. If he can do that to Hulkenberg and Raikkonen, that'll be perfect for me, but you can see in one camera shot almost, all 5 of us are right there, as now the front left tyre, you can see, is brick yellow now on the tyre carcass, so if we are going to make a move on Raikkonen, we need to be a little bit cautious though on if that left front tyre is going to get away from us mid-corner, as now Leclerc gets an engine failure, the man in 3rd place who was doing so well, and now he's going to be out of the Spanish Grand Prix. No, Raikkonen's hit him, and we've gone off on the gravel trying to avoid Raikkonen, near T-bone collision there for both Ferraris. It's an absolute disaster here at the Spanish Grand Prix. 2 laps remaining. Kimi Raikkonen's out of the Spanish Grand Prix. Leclerc's got an engine failure. I'm across the gravel taking avoiding action on Raikkonen there because I nearly T-boned him as I was so close, trying to make a move almost maybe. And now Hamilton's past us, and in a split second, just like that, the entire race has gone down the toilet for Ferrari here. We're down to P7. Hamilton's ahead of us, and I don't think I even have the grip anymore because not only were the tyres going off anyway, now I've got a lot of gravel on the surface. It's going to take more than half a lap there to get rid of that grip and kind of get that grip back, I should say. But oh my word, what on earth went on there? Leclerc with an engine failure, fair enough, really poor for him, you know, from 3rd place to a DNF, but look at that. He just takes out Kimi there because he moved a little bit left, a bit too left. I don't know what he's doing. He's soaring away at the steering wheel. And so Raikkonen comes along and pop. There you go. The front right tyre pops off there and hits the halo. And because I was so close to Raikkonen trying to make a move on my own whilst that engine failure was going on for Leclerc, I almost T-boned Raikkonen. And the brake zone wasn't anywhere near where Raikkonen was getting T-boned. So I had to take big avoiding action. I wasn't even braking at the point where he went sideways. And so we went straight onto the gravel and lost all that time, lost the place to Hartley and Hamilton, and so in the end it will be a very dominant win for Max Verstappen, a 1-2 for Red Bull race, a great podium then for Gasly, fair play, but big commiserations for Leclerc with that engine failure. He was set to get a great podium there, but then he had to go do something stupid there and take Raikkonen out and inadvertently ruin my race, so in the end it's a horrendous day for the entire Ferrari family.
Bad luck, it just wasn't our day today.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly well-deserved win. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well though, there's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
And I can see now the drivers are making their way out. We need Red Bull fighting at the front. They do an incredible amount for Formula 1. And that's another winner's trophy heading back to Milton Keynes.
That turned into such a hectic Spanish Grand Prix there. What a drama that was. Nearly a T-bone collision for both us Ferrari cars. Thankfully avoided that, and I still come home with some points. So ever the consistency for myself in career modes on F1, but still it's a lot less than I was hoping for there. Only a measly P7 in the Grand Prix, and especially with Verstappen and Ricciardo in a 1-2. Red Bull are going to be very strong now in the constructors' positions. Yeah, not more I can really say there. That was literally just Leclerc's fault though. The way he moved left, he completely took out Raikkonen, and then, like I said, I was so close to Kimi's car that I wasn't even starting to brake yet, because I wouldn't have done, even if we were side by side. I would have, continued to accelerate to make the move down the inside. But by that point, I had to shoot left, and I wasn't even thinking about my left foot on the brake pedal. So there we have it. Unfortunately, moved down to P2 now in the championship. We're actually level on points though with Verstappen, but since he's the one that won the latest Grand Prix, he gets the lead of the championship there. Hulkenberg not too far off as well, and Ricciardo obviously with the 2 DNFs, still not too bad actually for him in the standings. So it's all very, very close. So that kind of drama does add to the championship, but it doesn't add much to my heart rate and the kind of, the patience I have in the team. That kind of stuff just can't happen. If we're trying to win a championship, that's the stuff that we need to cut out. That kind of stuff happens in real life to Ferrari. In the game, we can't have any of that. That's the reason why I've come here. That's the reason why they wanted me here, to try and cut that stuff out. Because last season, they said I wouldn't be coming here if they won the Constructors. They were nowhere near the Constructors Championship because of too many mistakes, too many bad races. And so this is the kind of stuff that I want to try and cut out whilst here at the team. And so that kind of stuff, obviously out of our control with Leclerc, but also at the same time, why didn't Kimi move a little bit more left? To just kind of completely avoid Leclerc is beyond me. But, that's just the way racing goes sometimes. Sometimes you have bad days, sometimes you have good days. And so today is one of them. And we're down to P2 now in the Constructors' Championship. Renault looking great in third place, still there. Not too far off ourselves. And Red Bull, to be fair, they're not too much ahead of us. So that's doable. We can bring that back. And obviously, like I said, it is still very much early days in this championship. So no threat there. But let's just give an honourable mention to Pierre Gasly. Third place in Spain. Really great job for him and the Toro Rosso team as a whole as well, because Brendan Hartley did very well. But we're going to the end. Obviously, we beat Raikkonen in the rivalry. My new rival's actually Max Verstappen, so quite unfortunately fitting in a way for him as he wins that Grand Prix. So at the moment, we're losing the rivalry to Verstappen. And to be honest, if the Red Bull pace is like that for the rest of the season, it might be very hard to beat Max in the rivalry there. I'm just going to say that right now. But guys, if you did enjoy, like I said, what ended up being a very enthralling Spanish Grand Prix, dramatic and controversial Spanish Grand Prix, really, because it was a junior Ferrari car that took us out, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new and did get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.